The FBI deals with a lot of scary mysteries, such as people who have mysteriously disappeared, never to be seen again, to criminals that are featured on the FBI's watch list. Many of these FBI case files have remained unsolved for years, and in some instances for decades, and often involve some of the scariest criminals in the world. Number 5. The FBI case against Aaron Paul Victory started on the 27th of December 2016, when he was involved in a burglary in Choctaw County, Oklahoma. During the robbery, Victory went as far as pointing a firearm at officers who were in pursuit, and he managed to flee on foot. He was, however, tracked down and arrested 2 days later, and the firearm that he was using was found and confiscated. He was charged with possession of a firearm after a felony conviction, and he pleaded guilty. On the 10th of May, he was also charged with second-degree burglary and auto theft before being transferred to the Choctaw County Jail, where he awaited his trial. But 3 days before he would be heard in court, Victory broke a window in his cell and managed to slip through a slotted metal shade by standing on a table and a trash can. He then climbed into the ceiling and made his way onto the jail's roof. Here, he used electrical cords to fashion a makeshift rope, which he would use to climb down. Once on the ground, he made his getaway on foot. This is not the first time that Victory has managed to escape, as he's done so on 2 previous occasions. On the 21st of August, escape charges were added by federal prosecutors to Victory's already lengthy charge sheet, and a federal arrest warrant was issued as well. Family members told FBI investigators that they hadn't seen or heard from Victory, and that they feared he may be in danger. Victory is described as 6'1" to 6'4" inches tall, weighing around 196 to 201 pounds, with brown hair and brown eyes. He is also an avid outdoorsman and has the ability to survive in rugged terrain if he wishes to do so. FBI agents have warned that Victory should be considered armed and dangerous, and that he should not be approached if spotted. Anyone with information on his whereabouts, or who may have seen him, is urged to contact their nearest FBI office. Number 4. FBI agents are on the hunt for Miguel A. Alvarado, a tire shop owner and joint owner of a trucking company in Wesley Chapel, Florida. On the 26th of May, 2006, Alvarado was aboard a 29-foot motorboat on the Intercoastal Waterway near Treasure Island in Florida. Witnesses at the scene reported that the motorboat was speeding excessively when it approached a nearby sea-doo that was circling in the water. About a quarter-mile east of Johns Pass, the motorboat collided with the sea-doo, and unfortunately, 2 people on the sea-doo, 19-year-old Corey Vincent and 23-year-old Joseph Batista, lost their lives due to the collision. Alvarado had several passengers on his boat, but none of them came to any harm. But rather than face the consequences of his actions, Alvarado decided to flee the scene, but as soon as he learned that the police had been called, he stopped. The United States Coast Guard quickly responded, and they accompanied Alvarado to the docks where he was given a medical examination, during which it was found that he was intoxicated. But bizarrely, he wasn't immediately arrested. After an investigation that spanned over a total of 7 months, he was charged with leaving the scene of a boating accident and boating under the influence, as well as manslaughter, for which he would be facing up to 35 years in prison. But by the time that the investigation was finalized, Alvarado had sold his house after transferring his general power of attorney to his sister, and he fled. It's believed that he is no longer in the country and that he's most likely hiding out in Venezuela. Soon after, he was added to the FBI's most wanted list and is considered one of the country's most wanted fugitives. Alvarado is described as having black hair and brown eyes. He's 5'7" tall and weighs around 159 pounds. He has ties to Venezuela, where he was born. FBI investigators believe that he may be living in that area. Anyone who has information on Alvarado's case, or who may have information on where he is currently living, has been asked to contact the FBI at their nearest office, or the nearest American embassy or consulate. Number 3. Francisco Molina Nave, who is wanted by FBI investigators, has been known to go by many aliases, including Francisco Juvera Molina Nave, Francisco Molina, Francisco Javier Molina, Christian Morales Santibáñez, Francisco Nave, Christian Santibáñez, and Francisco Morales. On the 5th of July, 1997, Molina Nave was a guest at a holiday party in the Denver metro area, accompanied by his girlfriend. After leaving the party, the couple was on their way home in his girlfriend's vehicle when an altercation ensued. Molina Nave, who was sitting in the passenger seat of the car, started to assault his girlfriend and had no choice but to bring the vehicle to a stop. He then got out of the car and walked around to the driver's side door, where he continued the assault. This continued until a passerby saw what was happening, and they ran over to the car to see if he could assist the woman. This caused Molina Nave to flee the area. The passerby was able to flag down a passing motorist containing more witnesses, and he asked them to look for Francisco. They agreed, and shortly after, they spotted the man nearby. They told him to stop running and that police had been called, but this prompted him to escape down a narrow alleyway as police arrived at the scene. Officers started setting up a perimeter when they heard the sound of two different firearms being discharged nearby. They then saw the vehicle that was being driven by the witnesses speed out of the alleyway, and they were yelling that they'd found the suspect, who was now in the company of another man. They told officers that the two men discharged their weapons at the car, hitting one of the occupants in the process, though she would go on to make a full recovery. Francisco was arrested, and on the 21st of January 1999, he pleaded guilty to first-degree assault, attempted first-degree assault, prohibited use of a weapon, and third-degree assault. But as the verdict was being read, Molina Nave took a chance and fled from the courtroom. He was arrested, however, again shortly after in San Antonio, Texas. He refused extradition, and he was allowed to post bond while awaiting the outcome of his extradition appeal. He failed to appear for his bond hearing and was once again arrested in May of 2007. His bond was then set at $1 million, which he posted, and he was released. When his appeal was denied, he fled once more and remains on the FBI's most wanted list to this day. Molina Nave should be considered armed and dangerous and is an escape risk. Anyone with information on this case can assist the FBI by contacting their nearest office. Number 2. The FBI case file on Miguel Morales Orozco received renewed interest when his victim, 48-year-old Glenn Earl Owen, expressed concerns over the fact that his attacker had not been tracked down, and that he needed to be brought to justice to face the consequences of his crime. The incident occurred on the 13th of September, 1998, when Orozco entered Owen's apartment in Newhall, California. An altercation broke out between the two men, and Orozco produced a sharpened blade, which he used on his victim. Owen managed to dial 911, and medical personnel took him to a nearby hospital. He had already lost consciousness, however, and was unable to supply investigators with any information on the incident at the time. Orozco was charged by the Los Angeles County, California Superior Court with one count of attempted murder, and on the 28th of October, 1998, a state warrant was issued for his arrest. A federal arrest warrant was also issued on the 27th of March, 2000, when he was charged with unlawful flight to avoid prosecution. But the case quickly went cold when no tips were received, and there were no clues as to where Orozco may have been hiding out. When no progress had been made in the case by 2014, Owen contacted the FBI to ask that Orozco be added to the FBI's most wanted list. He was told to write a complaint, which he did, and Orozco's case was added to the site. He's described as 5 foot 10 inches tall and weighs around 180 pounds. He has black hair and brown eyes and is known to have ties to Mexico. Members of the public should note that Orozco is considered armed and dangerous, and is an escape risk, and therefore he should not be approached by members of the public. If he is spotted, authorities should immediately be contacted instead. Anyone who may know where Orozco is currently hiding out can submit a tip at their nearest FBI office, American embassy, or consulate. Number 1. FBI investigators have asked for the public's help in locating 18-year-old Naomi Christine Iria, who was abducted in Fernley, Nevada on the 12th of March, 2022. On that day, Naomi was sitting in her car in a Walmart parking lot where she was waiting to catch an employee bus to work. Her family told investigators that she usually leaves her car in the lot and then travels to work at the Panasonic Gigafactory via a bus. When she didn't return home to her older brother, Casey Valley's home by the next day, he reported her missing. When investigators checked CCTV surveillance footage from the parking lot, they knew that something had gone terribly wrong. Cameras show Naomi sitting in her car before she was approached by a man wearing a mask and a hooded sweatshirt. They noted that in the minutes before he approached her car, he'd been pacing suspiciously up and down the sidewalk in front of the store. He then approached Naomi's vehicle, motioned for her to move over into the passenger seat, got behind the wheel, and drove away. When Naomi's social media was checked, it was found that she'd last been active at around 5 a.m. on the morning before she was abducted. 3 days later, Naomi's car was found at an industrial park located near Walmart. Deputies added that items found inside the car indicated that her disappearance was suspicious in nature, though they declined to list the items that were recovered. Investigators have asked members of the public to be on the lookout for a dark 2020 or newer model Chevrolet High Country 4-door pickup truck that the suspect may be driving. They've stated that if the vehicle is spotted, authorities should be contacted immediately. Search efforts have been increased, and now law enforcement agencies at local, state, and federal levels have been made aware. Naomi's mother traveled to Nevada from South Africa in a bid to help find her daughter. At the time of her abduction, Naomi was carrying a dark-colored purse, and she had her iPhone with her. She's described as 5'11" inches tall and weighs between 230 and 250 pounds. She has one green and one brown eye, and has a septum piercing as well as a smiley face tattoo on her right ankle. Anyone with information should contact the Lyon County Sheriff's Office at 775-577-5206. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to hit that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep up to date with all of our future uploads. But my name is Ty Knotts, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.